Welcome back, and today we are revisiting the F4D. Now the last time around I absolutely ripped this thing apart. Not much has changed since the last time I made the video, other than the fact that it doesn't really rip itself apart anymore. Which admittedly is a pretty big change, because that was definitely the biggest weakness of this thing. Well, yes, this is a lot better, it's still far from perfect, and the weaknesses that this thing already had are now actually noticeable because you don't blast your wing off the second you merge with the first person you see. The main strength of this thing will be the power, as well as the pretty decent maneuverability in the prolonged section, mainly because of the power. The issue is that this thing has pretty poor retention, and you can't really keep it very fast because you will 1. Lock up completely, and 2. Your top speed isn't that high anyway. Then of course you get the armament. It's kind of awkward to aim, which I do think is a major factor of the armament as well. And then you have 4 20mm that fire very fast, and you only have 70 rounds per gun. So you are basically expecting half the fire time of something like an F2 Saber. Now you can shoot them 2 at a time with the small caliber and big caliber gun keys. They are split. But overall, it's not really that worth it, because the guns don't hit that hard anyway as of right now. They hit quite hard before, well, Real Shatter came back basically. But now they don't hit that hard, and I tend to use basically all guns at the same time. You of course also have 4 AIM-9Bs, you can see them in action. I mean, I don't need to explain it, they work versus people that aren't paying attention, or are maybe trying to stall you out, or at like super high altitudes when they are going very fast. But in general, you're still not gonna get your main amount of kills with the missiles, but you still need to try to get as many with the missiles as you can, because it does save you a lot of ammo if you just manage to get a kill with 1 missile, opposed to spraying them with your guns and not doing anything to them. Now I go defensive here, and in the defensive posture this plane isn't that fantastic. Why is that, you might ask? You can see that I have been on the afterburner, and yes, I've been full sending it after the CL-13, I have been dodging the MiG-21, all that stuff at the same time. I ended up going about 350 kilometers an hour at the end of that. And when you go very slow in this thing, it basically becomes impossible to aim. This thing is very unresponsive at low speed. You want to keep it at medium, but when you are at medium, you kind of set yourself up for being attacked. And when you get attacked, you go to slow speed, and when you go slow, you are basically dead. Unless it's a secluded 1v1. And then you can definitely get some stuff to work. Now this is granted, you are fighting other subsonics. Unfortunately at 9.0 you mostly see 9.3, 9.7, possibly 10.0, and you just don't see any subsonics. And supersonics are a bit of a different breed in this thing, depends on what you're fighting. MiG-21S's, MiG-21 PFMs, the F-13s, F-100, those kind of planes, they can run away from you, but they are pretty fightable. MiG-19s on the other hand, which you will run into essentially every match, and we will be fighting 2 or 3 of them throughout this video, are pretty annoying. You need to stay fast to actually be able to counter-attack, because if you go too slow and they get on your 6, you're essentially basically dead, because they can just energy trap you. Luckily, however, most MiG-19 pilots are the reason it is still at 9.3. They are basically clueless, and normally they don't really fly it properly, which means that you can kind of sit inside of that turning circle. Now this largely comes down to them just absolutely throwing the fight, and luckily, as I just said, most of them do that, but I'll cover that once we get there. So it's a bit of a different breed depending on what you are fighting. At 9.0 it's pretty decently competitive. The issue is when you get up tiered, which is essentially every game. Higher tier missiles, R60s, AIM-9Ls, they are extremely hard to dodge in this thing, and actually the best course of action is going head on with it and shooting an AIM-9B at it. If they shoot from behind, if you're going too fast, you will be completely bricked up like I am right now, and if you go too slow, you're just too slow to dodge it. So a bit of a rough one. PFM comes up for us, we are gonna dodge the merge, we are just gonna kind of loop over and fall on top of him. And this is where this thing shines. When it's at absolute low speed, you have both stalled out, and you're able to just kind of float inside of it. Now I do miss a shot there, and unfortunately the F104 comes in to, well, not really steal it, but to interrupt my fight, and I can't really show you what this thing can do. And this has been my main issue with the F4D. It's very hard to get footage for this thing because of the way that the meta plays out right now. You don't really get any long-term fights, you don't really get any reversals. Overall, in terms of getting footage for this thing, absolutely dreadful. The flight performance, getting 1 or 2 kills per game is completely fine. It's not a bad plane at all anymore. And the video that I made previously, other than the fact that I say that it rips, is still completely applicable, and I think it showcases the plane a little bit better. But you know, I guess I can't win them all. Well, I can in game, because I've of course never died and lost a game, but in general, it's very similar. If you want more footage of it, just check that out, and ignore the parts where I say that it rips very often. Other than that, I mean, the video is still completely relevant. Now, what are we doing? We dive in from orbit, because we do have that good acceleration. We kind of go in from an off angle, try to shoot from aim-9Bs on unsuspecting brace. One of them actually does connect, but it doesn't actually kill him. Now, that's a J6A, and by the way he's flying, I know that he is going to be paying attention to me. He's doing the right thing. He is not one of the reasons why it's 9.3 probably. So I am going to be booking it. If I go vertical with that, I will stall out. He will get a very easy shot. And it doesn't matter how bad he is, I am going to be dying. So I am just going to leave. And that's it. We are just going to leave. Going on with a Limb 5. I don't want to deal with that thing later on. Unfortunately, we miss. Now, if he turns around for us, we are completely boned. There is nothing we are going to be doing. So instead, I'm just going to fly towards my team a little bit. And this J6A, as predicted, very much wants to eat my ass. Now, I'm not the king shame, but I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm gonna try to deny him the pleasure, and perhaps even my own. So he starts to get a little bit closer now, and I'm gonna be wiggling my ass in front, try to stay out of his guns. He does slow down a little bit, but not enough, so I'm gonna keep my afterburner on. As you can tell, my speed bleed is a lot higher than his. We are only going 450 now. I do get a crit, but it doesn't say anything on the bottom right, so I'm just expecting it to be absolutely nothing, and I'm not going to be sticking to that yet again, just like with the previous spiral thing that he did. I'm just going to leave, I'm going to dive out, I'm going to accelerate away, and I'm going to make sure that I have the speed to counterattack. Now, this is the issue with high energy planes. On your 6, if I go too fast, again, I will just brick up. If I go too slow, I'm a very easy target. And because of the retention, you kind of have to really dance around a very fine line. It doesn't really work out all the time. Now, last time he broke a little bit and he overshot, so I'm expecting him to break a little bit more this time, but I'm not going to break fully because I know that he wants to play energy. Now, I predicted properly, he does overshoot, but we are still too slow. And by the time we get guns on him, I mean, he's just too far away again, and this is not a real shot at actually killing him. But I was not in a position to run away at that point because I was too slow, I was too low, and he was in too good of a position to simply break off. I would just give him my ass and he'd be riding my ass at like 600 to 700 kilometers an hour, and then truly it never would have been as jovial as it would be then. Then he turns the other way. I'm now able to break off a little bit and use my acceleration to bank a little bit of speed again and make sure that I have plenty of energy to counterattack. Now, you can get these low stall shots with this thing, but it's very awkward and you need to be used to the plane. I only have like 20 to 30 games in the thing, so I don't really have that at the moment. So if you really want to specialize in this thing, if you think it's good, if you like the look of it, you can get used to it, but it is going to take you a little bit of time. Now, we actually kind of finally reverse it properly. He goes pretty slow, almost in front of us. And of course, then he gets taken down by a teammate. But I'm including it anyway, because these videos are not just about watching me get kills. I want you to understand the plane, and I think that was a pretty good example. MiG-19 comes in yet again, and we also have a MiG-15 next to him. If a MiG-15 starts on your 6, however, don't even bother. You are going to be dying. If you merge from the head-on and have a bit of energy, you can work with it. From behind, you're gonna have a very tough time beating the thing. So MiG-19 starts kind of flying overhead, so I cut back inside of him, and I'm gonna try to actually get on the 6. Now, the MiG-15 is decently far away, and I think to myself, I can maybe do something here, and he does turn back in. I keep looking, he breaks off, which is absolutely perfect, and then the second guy comes in, so I need to go defensive, and at this point I basically threw the game. This is what a bad mistake looks like. It didn't cost me this time around. I should have died there, but I didn't. And again, situational awareness, people. It is very damn important. Now we're going to try to go defensive. Saab 105 doesn't have one of his wings, which is fine. And then the MiG-15 flies away and the MiG-19 comes back to finish the relay race. Now, I'm a little bit slower than him, and he is kind of slowing down as well. So I am going to try to just stay over his nose. And I will make him overshoot. It's no question. The issue is when he actually starts playing energy. In this kind of fight, I will win. I do turn better, I lose more speed, so I'm just gonna be sitting in behind him. Crit his wing. And I mean, at this point, he is essentially dead. 400 meters maximum. And I mean, we just take his plane apart. And then we fly towards the middle of the map. And once more, this thing is not a carry plane that is made to just cut through the entire enemy team in a span of 12 seconds. You need to be kind of supportive of your team, and this is exactly that. Saab 105 has the F2 on his 6. While on the left here, an F-84F has a MiG-15 on his 6, so I know that he's just gonna be dying if I leave him alone. We make the right call. As we break off, the Saab gets set on fire, and we are now able to help out my teammate. The team is your lifeline in this thing. You are not a plane that is very good at, I said it, carrying at the early game. The big team fights, it kind of struggles at, because it's just not very responsive at high speed, and you kind of make yourself a sitting duck. But if you latch onto someone else, you're very hard to shake. When it comes to 1v3, 1v4s, unless they're all in attackers, you're gonna have an issue as well, because you just lose too much speed trying to get a singular kill in, and you need to just kind of play by the rules of this vehicle. It's unique, not many planes play like it, and you need to be aware of that. But this is one of those vehicles that gets better as you get used to it. You can't just force your own playstyle upon it, because it's not going to work. And I do think that these kind of vehicles for an event are always good. It's unique, it has its strengths, it's not completely busted, and you just don't see anything like it. But that's the same as point number 1. Now we stall out the Saab 105 essentially, but it just took off. I'm just putting this in here to show you absolutely nothingness as I wrap up the video. Thank you all for watching. Watch this shit get stolen, and you'll see me in the next one.